Welcome back to the Mason Cox Show. Today is unique. This is the first one of these we're doing. We're doing catch up with Mason Cox. Now, I've got the man, the myth, the legend. He is the man that works everything in the backgrounds. He is the producer, editor, everything else that is involved in this podcast. And he's a good friend of mine. And he's one of the reasons I think we started this whole thing about 3 years ago was trying to get this podcast off the ground. He's created this amazing thing, the Rollin' Bus. Check him out on socials, Rollin' Media on Instagram and all that. And it's been so good. We're doing this catch up with Coxie, and it's going to be essentially all things relevant, current events, news, topics, sports, entertainment, everything you could possibly imagine. We're going to hit the main topics from everything that's happened over the past few weeks. So listen, it's going to be an amazing episode, and I'm so excited to have the man in front of us. We're actually seeing you, like actual video of the man who's actually the person editing and doing all of the clips and stuff. And it's good to have you on and good to get your opinion out there now, finally.
It shows how hard my job is that I can do it from in front of the cameras. I'm a magician. Everything's switching and the audio is working, hopefully.
It'll be a little bit more editing because you can't do it right now. But I'm excited to get into it, man. We'll smash into it. We got a lot to cover here. There's a lot that's happened over the last few weeks. So,
well, I'm actually still coming down from yesterday's game. So, yesterday, this is recorded Monday, the day after Hawthorn Collingwood, nail-biting victory for the Pies.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks have been like that. I feel like I've aged a lot in the last 2 weeks. We've had two nail biters over the last 2 weekends, and we've come out on top for both of them. So very fortunate, very exciting days at the Collingwood Football Club at the moment. But it's been a really good few weeks, and we're really looking forward to this week coming up with the Queen's birthday match, one of the biggest games of the year. So it's going to be... You're
going to get them. They're sliding. I reckon they're a chance to drop out of the 8. I reckon.
Brayden, be real, dude. Melbourne. It's Melbourne.
If they keep this trajectory now, you're only as good as your last game, and even if you're only as good as your last 2 games, they've had some stinkers.
I'm not going to sit there and get my hopes up like that. I'm going to prepare for Melbourne at their best. So it's going to be a good game coming up. Obviously, we have the M&D round. You've got a bit of a personal connection with the M&D round. Is that correct?
Yeah, unfortunately, but my uncle recently passed of M&D, and I've done some stuff through the club being there previously, and it's just such a scary disease. Like the way that it moves so quickly, and now having a personal connection to it, whereas you grow up with that person being a certain way, knowing them your whole life, and then to see them and then shortly, like the way that it kind of deteriorates the body and the mind's still there and kind of willing and able. It's really sad to see, but on the flip side, it's awesome the Queen's birthday game and what Collingwood and Melbourne do, and kind of, although there's the competition on the day, that they kind of just put it to the side and do something really good for charity and really shine a spotlight on what is a bitch of a disease.
Yeah, it's terrible. And it's cool that they are able to kind of wrap this whole fundraiser up and bring celebrities on board, get Neil Danaher to go up, people slide down a slide into an ice bath, and everyone buys in so much. It's such a cool day, I feel like, in Australian culture, sporting culture in general, to have 80, 90,000 people come out and have this as such a big image from the round. We've got obviously Indigenous round, we've got Anzac Day, we've got a lot of amazing things, Matty Rewalt's Vision round. We've got so many things that AFL puts a shining light on, and I think this is one of the ones that shines the brightest, and it's such an amazing thing to be a part of. I remember it was like 5 years ago or something like that, I ended up winning the Neil Danaher Cup, and that's seriously one of the highlights of my career, having that given by Neil to myself. And one of those moments you get chills, man. I'm getting chills right now talking about it because he's an absolute legend, and it's going to be a really exciting week for us at the club.
That was actually my last game at the Pies. You absolutely
just went out on a high. I was like, "Yep, I'm out of here. See you later."
I was like, "This will be the peak of what Collingwood achieves in 2018." So I'll
how'd that go?
Leave it at that. Well, it wasn't that bad. I got to watch the rest of the season on the couch, had a few beers. But what, you kicked 5 in that game?
Kick 5. I think that's the most I've ever kicked in a game.
That's not bad.
Saving for the big ones.
See, you step up on the big stage. You did Anzac Day, the prelim.
Just need 80,000 people to show up and I'll actually show up at a game.
Yeah, so if you're having a flat game, it's because 80,000 didn't show up.
Yeah, it's because the supporters aren't there. Yeah. Come on, guys.
Well, there was a few talking points out of the game. So a few controversial decisions and a few controversial non-decisions. So I don't know where you were on the ground at the time, but game in the balance, third quarter, Darcy Moore slides to knock a ball over the line to rush behind. Not sure who the Hawthorn player was, but came in, slid in behind him, basically trailed him across the line and was called for diving below the knees. Such a rough decision at the time, and I can say, but it looks wrong. Like, how do you feel when a call comes like that? And chuck on top of that, no dissent.
No dissent.
You just got to hold it in, fold the arms.
It's become a bit harder this year. You're not allowed to essentially react to show any emotion with a bad call nowadays. And I'm totally, don't get me wrong, I'm on board for this whole respecting umpires and everything. And it's great that we're doing that. Don't get me wrong. But I think at the same time, it's so hard as a player whenever you see something, you're like, oh, come on. And after you make a call as an umpire, you have to stick to it. Yeah. But you can't go back and be like, oh, no, hold on. I made the wrong call. Let's have a little huddle and sort it out. Like, no, it's you make the call, it sticks. So you got to sit there and just own it, even if you have that moment of realization that maybe it's the wrong call. And especially that one where I think everyone watched it up on the big screen after it happened and was like, okay, come on, this is surely not. Like a whole crowd going after you, and it just plays over and over and over.
I'd avoid watching the big screen at all costs, especially when you knew it was line ball and you got the player pointing up at the big screen saying, check it out.
Yeah.
Just be a stand the mark. Here's the mark, the mark's here. Like,
just straight back to the center circle, go back to the center square
set the mark about a dozen times. And the other one was Jack Ginnivan. Obviously, he's
love Guinea. Love Guinea.
And everyone does. Oh, well.
No. Everyone loves Guinea. Big fan of Guinea on the pod.
He's pretty polarizing. If he played for your team, you'd love him. I can understand that he can push other teams. The big celebration in the goal square against Freo was a...
I loved it. I'm a huge fan. Also, Hawthorn did that this week anyway. So,
but you probably got to win the game if you're gonna do that. But yeah, Ginnivan obviously got a few contentious non-calls, a couple of highs where it looked like the umpire kind of called play on because he was playing for a free kick. Do you think it should be called on its merit, or do you think that it's kind of deserved when some of these players come out? I know it was compared to like Cody Waitman, who openly came out and said that it was a skill to dive. Do you think they should just call it as they see it?
I think you have to call it as it is. It's seriously, it's trying to get people to tackle less above the head. And like, obviously concussion's a massive thing in the AFL. It's a big kind of hot topic at the moment with everything going on and CTD and all that kind of stuff. That's starting to get more and more information as the years go on. But you have to just call it, even if you unnecessarily hit someone. I couldn't tell you how many free kicks I've given away for a high tackle because the dude's like, I physically can't actually like tackle someone properly because I have to be getting on my knees on the ground to like actually get their chest. It's frustrating, and it's one of the most frustrating things as a tall fella, I think. But you just have to call it as is. Like if someone gets a high tackle, it's tough shit. Like it's like I don't know the best way to go about it, to be honest, to be able to try to not to. It's like you kind of have to almost like wait for him to try to make that move, and then you tackle him after or something along those lines. But we're trying to mitigate the amount of head knocks in a game, and if you hit someone in the head, it's a free kick. It should be. This is the problem with umpiring. There's too many opinions. This needs to be something straight down the line. Like it is a factual thing. If you hit someone in the head, it's a free kick. Otherwise, we're going to sit there, go back and forth, and we're never going to have an actual answer for what's a like proper way to justify a free kick.
But the problem is the grey areas in it. Is it a skill? Or
100% it's a skill. Joel Selwood's made like a whole career out of it. Like, kidding me?
But so if it's a skill and you say that you need to avoid head contact and he's putting his head in a vulnerable position, does some of it need to fall on the person putting their head in that position?
I mean, if you go and like take your head over the ball and you run your head into someone's knee, like that can't be high. Like that has nothing to do with the person. They're not actually trying to make contact with you. But if someone just trying to tackle you and like gets their arm above your neck, then yeah, it has to be a free kick. And I think it seriously needs to be straight down the line, because umpires, we're going to run out of umpires because no one's going to want to be an umpire, because it's impossible to actually be correct as an umpire, because you always have opinions and you can be both right and wrong at the same time. That's my opinion. Sorry, that's a little hot take for you.
Very true. And saying that, I did see you withholding your dissent on the weekend. Why did you just go, you just went with the folded arms?
Well, I was went like that, and I was like, nah, well, if I do that, I'm going to give 50 away. So I'm just going to look at him with a huge amount of disdain. And yeah, I'm sure you'll make a meme out of that. Yeah. We'll make the most of that one. But I was not too happy with the call. But
I couldn't tell.
Well, that's my way of showing it. That's apparently within the rule book of the IFL.
Yeah, no, it's good. And so we asked fans for their fan questions, and we'll get to that later in the podcast. But one that really stood out was the fact when it started raining. We all know that you wear glasses now, and for eye protection purposes. When it started raining, the glasses came off. Everyone wanted to know why the glasses came off. Was it because it was raining?
It is because it's raining. And until they start making glasses that have windshield wipers, I don't think that's going to change. Yeah, I have contacts that are dailies, and it's essentially taking a bit of a risk doing it. But I wear those whenever it starts raining, because whenever you have, obviously, these glasses, it's a surface that gets wet, causes droplets, you can't see as well. So
I can vouch for that.
Yeah, we're two guys wearing glasses right now. I mean,
a lot in common.
Yeah, both last name Cox.
We're both tall.
Spelled a little bit differently. Unfortunate for you. Yeah. But yeah, it's something that I think now, unfortunately, if that does the case, is that I have not found a solution other than wearing contacts for a rainy day.
So saying that and hearing your story, what are the risks? If it's every time it starts raining and it is a winter sport, what are the risks that you run?
It's the same risks as probably before all this happened. Just kind of daunting to say, I guess. But yeah, I think I've been very unfortunate and very unlucky in the fact that that's kind of been the way that's, I guess, happened with my injuries. But like, there's no other way I've found to be able to do this. I'm not going to go run out there in the middle of the game, it starts raining, and essentially go, well, I'm going to take myself off the field because I can't see now. Like, you have to find some kind of a solution. So it's a bit risky, and I hope no opposition's looking at this and saying, oh, here's a free whack on him. But yeah, it is what it is. It's part of the whole process and part of the journey, and you gotta cop it, deal with it, and pray for the best.
Yeah, well,
kind of crazy to say that, like ridiculous, but
I actually can't imagine just that preying on your mind the whole time. I don't know.
Nah, it doesn't prey on my mind.
You don't think about it?
No, not even a little bit. I'm trying to knock someone's head out.
Yeah, right.
Usually, I'm trying to make sure I'm not the one getting jumped on and jumping on someone else.
Yeah, nice.
Let's move on to some other stuff, because this is not just a football podcast. We're going to talk about all kinds of things, entertainment and everything else, and we want to get into a bit of entertainment side of things. There's a couple shows out. Like, I'm a big Netflix guy, big Disney Plus kind of fella, and I love my docos and whatnot. And there's a couple out right now. There's Obi-Wan.
Good doco.
Oh, it's a series. And there's Stranger Things season 4.
Yeah.
Have you got into these, Brayden?
See, I was a real latecomer to Star Wars, but then I kind of binged and got through it, and I did. What was the first TV show that they brought out?
Mandalorian?
Yeah, I watched Mandalorian. Hot take. No,
Brayden's hot take. Cox's hot take.
Nothing happened. Every episode was like, hey, Mandalorian, go get the milk from the corner store. And then off he went, and he got the milk, came back, and then it would be like, thanks for getting the milk, but there's trouble on that planet over there. And then he'd like fly off to the next planet, and the next guy would be, yeah, where's my eggs? And then he'd like... It was just like little task by little task. Yeah. It's like, go do something. Back in Star Wars, they used to blow up Death Stars and stuff. Like, what are you doing? You just do like, I get it because he's like what is he? He's like a little henchman for hire.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't say little henchman. It's like condescending. but
it's essentially a mercenary.
Yeah, like he's a mercenary, but it's just like, go and do this for me, go and do that for me. And he'd go and do it, and then the series ended. And it's like...
Well, Yoda was in there. Little baby Yoda. That's why everyone watched it, because all the girls were like, oh my God, this thing's so cute. Oh my God.
I mean, it was cute. Little hand and stuff. But I haven't watched Obi-Wan yet.
You should. It's good. I think it's better than Mandalorian. Another hot take. It's better than Mandalorian.
Bit more happened?
There's Darth. Okay, it's already kind of out there, the first few episodes, but Darth Vader's involved. Therefore, you have two of the bigger, like, kind of, characters of Star Wars against each other. And
so it's the OG Darth. It's like young Darth.
Like Darth at his like darkest, I think.
He's like 30.
Yeah, probably 30.
He's like
Yeah,
out
let's
there
go with that.
kicking it.
Yeah, Anakin Skywalker's 30.
Lives in a studio apartment.
down in the Bronx. It's cute. Gets his vanilla latte every day. No, so it's a great show, man. I think it's like if you're a bit of a Star Wars fan or even not like fully into the full Star Wars thing, like, but you have an understanding of kind of like the storyline where it's at, it's actually really, really good, man. You need to get into it.
Yeah. And that's what I found like I liked about these. It was like, you don't have to be like a hardcore fan or whatever. You can just get into it. It's like one of those episodic things that you can watch episode by episode, especially the last one where he's just doing nothing. You don't have to know anything to know that he's not doing anything. And then the other one that you mentioned was Stranger Things. Now, I dropped off, I think, a season ago.
Oh, no.
So
Season 3 dropped off. Oof.
Yeah. So
I remember they brought in the Russians.
Yes.
Jeez, how that's going today. Russians might have regretted that one.
Russians are invading everything.
Yeah.
So what? How many episodes are out of this? They dropped the whole thing?
Season
or are
4. I think they've dropped all the episodes all at once.
Are you a binger?
I'm a 2-episode binger.
Yeah,
and I'll do it while I'm cooking. So I'm not a full like Obi-Wan, I'll sit there and I'll watch the whole thing. Like I'm full.
That was me with Game of
attention
Thrones.
there. Yeah, Game of Thrones is the same. But Stranger Things, like I've probably watched a few episodes multiple times. I've kind of been in and out. Yeah. But it is very dark. Stranger Things is like gotten very gruesome.
Well, the kids are they're grown up.
They're older,
now.
but I mean
they're like 18 and stuff.
Some of the horror stuff is like, it's a proper horror movie. Where it was kind of like kids coming around, there's a little like, demons here and there. There's another upside down, all that in the first couple. And then now it's like people are properly like getting necks broken, which is like insane.
So is it scary? You're saying it's scary?
I wouldn't watch it with kids. Yeah, I wouldn't watch it with kids. If I had kids, I would not allow them to see it. That's what I'll say.
Oh.
So it is dark, but it is good. I will say it's good. It's cool to see them kind of grow up through a series. Obviously like being very young kids, it's like the first season all the way to where they are now, where they're probably, they're probably like 21 now.
Yeah. Stranger Things 12.
Yeah, I know. We'll get down there. It's going to be one of those things that'll probably kill it till it's dead. But we'll move on to the next segment. It's Simple Pleasures in Life.
I like this one.
This is a good one. This is the one I really enjoy. And we're all about positivity here. We're all about it.
Bogged down on like the negatives.
There is a lot around there. There's a lot of headlines that are negative, man. So we're going to get a simple pleasure in life. What do you have for me, Brayden?
I actually did this one this morning and I swear by it. This is my favorite thing to do, especially on a Monday morning. If you're going to like amplify your simple pleasure, Monday morning, you wake up, it's cold as shit at the moment. Whatever you're going to wear, so you get your jocks and maybe your shirt and pants if you can, but 100% your jocks. As soon as you wake up, chuck them in the dryer, crank on the heat, start that process.
Just your jocks?
Yeah. If you can do the whole kit, but sometimes I don't plan kits. I'm not. So I just do the jocks and then eat brekkie, have a shower, get out of the shower, jocks out of the dryer. Oh, they're nice. Slide them on, nice crispy warm jocks on a cold winter's morning.
Crispy sounds a bit weird.
They shouldn't probably be crispy. I don't know.
But it's like I've got a little simple pleasure. I've got two here, but like my kind of hot jocks. This is getting weird. Is a heated blanket or electric blanket. That thing I bought one the other day. I'm telling you, it's changed my life in these cold nights. It is the best thing to just snuggle up. Like first thing you get into bed and it's all nice and warm. There's nothing better. But my simple pleasure in life, and this is, I don't know if you do this, but I'm a bit OCD. I'm a very cleanly person. I like things in order and I like things in their place. And whenever I go to fill up my car with gas, or as y'all call it, petrol, I don't want to put gas in there.
It's not gas.
I know, it makes no sense. I actually agree with you guys on that one, which is one of the very small Aussie hot takes that I do agree with.
Talking about it's everything. Kilometers on the metric system. Get around it.
Hook turns. That's all I'm going to say. But whenever you fill up a tank, I don't know if you do this, but I try to get it on the zero. Yeah. Like I try to get like perfectly 0 at the bottom. And whenever I do, it's a little win that really makes my day. I'm telling you, the little just like I think my car it's huge. It's like $140, $150 to fill the whole thing up. Yeah. If I get it to 150 0, I am seriously like dancing at the pump. It is ridiculous. Like it is the best feeling for the week.
I think the flip side is if you're like trying to get double zeros and you go like 150.02.
Oh yes, that's real depressing.
It kills me.
And you go like maybe you get like 98, and then you go squirt, and then it goes 02. You're like no.
Just start splashing it on the ground, trying to get up to 110 or something.
Oh, I got the next dollar.
But I know I like that. I think it should be a reoccurring thing. Post them if you got simple pleasures. Say some simple pleasures, and we'll try them out. I swear, if you go and put your jocks in the dryer, heat them up. nice crispy jugs. Pull them out, snap them on.
We'll get some feedback from the audience. We'll put it on the socials. We'll get your simple pleasures in life, and I'm excited for that. I think there'll be quite a few that'll be kind of unique that we always probably take for granted but don't really realize it. So we'll put it on the socials. Have a look for it. We'll put it out there, and we're excited to get your comments on that one and see what you guys enjoy. The next one, awkward moments. Have you had any awkward moments in the last 2 weeks?
In the last 2 weeks, none that spring to mind. I'd like avoid awkward moments like the plague. Like I don't deal well with awkward moments. I actually have a couple that just sprung to mind.
Okay, here we go.
Oh man, when I was a kid, Christmas Day, we went to my cousin's house and there's all these presents under the tree.
Yeah.
And I thought they were all mine.
Selfish.
So I went and I was just like opening all of these presents.
No.
And then I went up to my mom. I was like, they got me like a drink cooler and like a princess doll. I was like, what? Do they not know me at all? And they're like, they were presents for the whole family. And like...
Did they rewrap them all?
No, it was like, oh, well, I guess...
But Brayden's ruined Christmas. Brayden is a Grinch.
Like, well, there goes the surprise. Yeah, you got a drink cooler. And not stellar presents anyway, but...
I always had one. I'm not going to say who they are, but I always had one person that like... would always give me the weirdest presents every year. I don't know if you have that like family member would just give me like a Frisbee. Like something that, and I was like 21 years old and they'd like give me a Frisbee and I'm like, did you just go to a random like Kmart and be like, yeah, that'll do. Like,
that's when you
glow in the dark Frisbee. Just what he wanted this Christmas.
You're buying stuff that you want. It's like, it's like, I love Frisbee. I'll buy this and hope he hates it. And then I get to keep the Frisbee. What about you? Awkward moments?
Awkward moments, man. I had an awkward moment this week, and I feel like this probably happens to a lot of people. And like, let's put ourselves in a situation, right? Let's set the story up. You go to a meeting with someone, you sit down, you have an hour chat, talking about business, whatever it is. You leave it, you go, it's great seeing you, shake the hand, we'll catch you later. Next thing you know, they're walking the same direction as you.
It's the worst.
And I've gone, like, they left first, and then I've gone, what, do I just kind of own this, or do I stalk them 10 meters behind? I don't know how to go about this situation here. So I kind of like waited, like I just sat there and just waited. Like they parked like right next to me, like right next to my car.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I just waited for them outside like an absolute idiot and just like acted like I was texting.
Pretending you didn't.
Just so I wouldn't have to follow them and have that awkward walk behind them, creepy, like kind of, we're going the same direction. Oh, this is an odd lock.
Saying that, like your walking gait is like what, 5 meters?
It's a slow jog for most.
You could just
most
take
average humans.
5 steps and you'd be at the end of the block and it's like, it's not a problem.
It's great.
Yeah, well, I guess.
My step counter, not so great.
It's like, you lazy prick.
Distance covered, 1K, steps 10.
Yeah, like, sweet. And then one more on this because that one just sprung to mind because it's like, now it's like, this is therapy and it's all starting to come out. Yeah. But I don't know if anyone's done this and God, I hope someone else has done this. Otherwise, it's just me and it's freaking weird. But like, when you're in primary school, hopefully you're in primary school. Because if you did this in high school, I'd just leave. I wouldn't come back. But when you're in primary school and you go to yell out to the teacher, but you yell out mum instead.
Mum?
Yeah.
No. How old were you? Surely you're young.
I reckon I was like grade 4, which is still pretty up there. But I vividly remember, and I covered it. This is my cover. So I like want the teacher and I go, Mum! And then everyone looks at me. So I pretend we had like the windows that looked out over the street. And I just pretended like I saw my mum walk past. And I like started doing this like wave thing.
She's like, at the school drop off.
Like she's like over the road and I went up to the window. I was like, Mum! She mustn't have seen me. Then I just went back to my seat and just died
it's
inside.
Like 9 a.m. the beginning and he's like, oh, my mother, I've been 1 hour without her. Oh, no.
That's why I don't do things.
It's safe to say you're a sheltered child, Brayden.
That's why I don't interact with people. But
if you did that in high school, I think we'd have some real issues.
Yeah, if you're doing that and you're like 17 or something, it's like, maybe get over your home.
Maybe COVID lasted way too long for you.
Jeez, but
that's great.
Yeah, so I don't deal well with that awkward moments at all. Clearly, as I just said.
That's a great way to finish the awkward moments segment. I'm going to put that up on socials too. Who knows? We'll go to the next segment.
She was there.
Conscious.
I could see her.
Mom! Controversial take.
The whole podcast.
The whole podcast is very controversial. That's what we're here for. But I'll start off on this one because this is, I think, a sign of me getting old.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anyone else has had this realization. Maybe that's around the same age. But we grew up, it was Facebook, right? Facebook was the cool thing. Then it turned into Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah.
Now, as an adult, it's turned into LinkedIn.
Oh, that's sad.
If you know, like Facebook was like, you look at it, it's like Facebook. Like the whole name is like, I can't remember this person's name I just met, so I'm going to go on Facebook to go figure out what their name is.
Oh, yeah, like
right?
you're matching them up.
You're matching it up, right?
Yeah,
of who I just met.
Okay, I get that.
That's now LinkedIn for me, which is like a business platform. I stick to my guns here. I think LinkedIn, very undervalued whenever it comes to figure out who it is.
LinkedIn, what, for a future life partner? It's like,
Gotta be a doctor or a lawyer.
Do they have a good job? What's their career history like? Where's their little bio about themselves and stuff? That's
what's their resume? What's their work-life balance like?
Well, you can't just settle for anyone. There's got to be the right person.
I think we maybe have too much information out in the media, like out in the public.
I'm just linking in now. Is that what they call it? I'm linking in.
You just create the profile.
I get it.
Rolling Media is on
Link
LinkedIn.
up,
Get
link
around
in.
it.
Yeah, it is. And I'm just slowly catching up. But it kills me. And I'm trying to become a LinkedIn person, but they're a type of people. And as
a creative, I think it's a very different take.
I've ranted about this to my mates endless amount of times. Like it'll be like, I went to the store and bought some bread, but it'll be like spun into the biggest life accomplishment of all time. It's like, thank you for the absolute privilege that I had today to come into Coles to collect the bread. What you guys do is God's work, and the synergy in which you perform is a high performance. Like, shut up. Like,
shut up.
Just talk normal. But since I've linked in, I've started to become that person. Like my vernacular is like, oh my God, the privilege of sitting down with Mason Cox, a once in a generation athlete, has really enlightened my life and soul, and I feel cleansed. I can now leave this earth a happy man. Thank you, Mason.
I don't think that's any truth to it, but I find it amazing that people, like, some of the descriptions of their roles, like if someone is like,
you'll be working the front desk and you'll be like,
it's like Chief Operations Manager of the Collingwood Football Club's, front office. And it's like, you just are the welcome person. Like, I don't go down there.
Yeah.
Like, people really beef up the profiles.
My controversial take, and I might get deplatformed for this.
You'll cop a bit of criticism for this.
Yeah. The beach.
Yeah.
Ever been?
Very well for the beach. Yeah. Very well acknowledged.
The beach sucks. And hear me out.
No. Okay.
Wind?
Yeah.
Wind is shit, right? Sand.
Yeah.
Gets in
combo, not great.
Gets in everything. Well, if you just want to go where it's like windy and there's just sand, and then people are like, oh man, but the views at the beach, it's like, there's nothing there, dude. You're looking out over the abyss.
Oh.
What are you looking at? The horizon. Great. So you're just getting all pounded by sand and wind. People like me get burnt to a bloody crisp.
It's just two of us.
It's just like, I love the beach. You roll back, you're like, your skin's like leather because you've been melted to the freaking ground. And it's like, oh, great. Now I got to like wash sand out of my hair for the next fortnight. Sick.
I can't agree on that. I find there's one thing.
Tell me something that's wrong with what I said.
I agree I'll agree on this bit. The sand is annoying. I will
sucks.
agree with that. But the beach is a beautiful place. I think there's few things in life I could sit there and listen to and watch every day, and it is a roaring fire and waves crashing in the ocean. Yeah. I could do that for hours on end.
Well, maybe that's my problem. St. Kilda Beach doesn't have waves crashing in the ocean.
I think the fact that you're calling St. Kilda a beach is probably your problem, Brayden. There's way better beaches in this world than St. Kilda, where it's literally just a sewage pit.
Oh, geez, hot take.
Hot take. I literally think there was a headline while I've been here in Australia that sewage was going into St. Kilda's beach. Like, this is not something that's new.
Yeah, well, the only thing I can get around at the beach is like the aura of the beach. I like jogging alongside the beach. I like, you get a coffee, you go for a walk, you got the dog, you do all that. Salt water sucks. So it's like, it's all together. It's like gin and tonic. Gin sucks.
Gin sucks on its own.
Tonic sucks
on its own.
And you put them together.
It's all right. I like it.
But yeah, that's my hot take. And you can't change my mind.
Very controversial. I'm not sold on it, but I'm halfway sold. We're going to the next bit. We're going to implement this next part. It's going to be called Coxie's Challenge. Now, we're going to put stuff out to socials. This is where we want to get engagement from everyone. We want to get comments about what you think should be a challenge that we have to do in the next 2 weeks. Catch Up with Coxie is going to come out every 2 weeks. We'll have an interview in between. So within the next 2 weeks, we have to do a challenge.
Yeah.
Either
so
one of us
what are we
has to do a
talking?
challenge.
Anything?
I'm going to leave it open-ended to the people. And this is probably going to backfire on me. I'm not going to lie, Brayden. This is going to be...
Every time it's a bad one, you're going to be like, no, that Coxie's challenge. And it's going to be
Yeah,
me.
exactly. I'm putting it on you.
No.
Something I can't do in the media, but you can. And we're going to send this out to everyone. We're going to put it on social. So I want everyone to go out there. If you're listening to this, go check out Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, whatever it is. Put on there what you want our challenge to be. And we're going to try to complete it. And we'll put out some maybe social posts to try to show you that we have completed this challenge by one person over these next 2 weeks. So looking forward to that.
I like it.
Kind of nervous about that more than anything, but it'd be a
real,
good little thing to get engagement from everyone else and be able to kind of be a community here. So really looking forward to that one. And another one we're going to do is one of probably the last little segments is going to be, tell me something you're looking forward to.
Something that I'm looking forward to. We can we announce who we did the
next podcast with This Is a Hot Take? This is a hot take,
it's like breaking news.
Breaking news. We'll have a ticker on the bottom.
Well, no, you do it. You interviewed the great man.
Yeah, the great man. Should we have a little... The next episode of the Mason Cox Show is with one of the greatest comedians of all time in Australia.
Easily.
Peter Hellier. He's an absolute legend. Pete Hellier, he's on the project. Iconic. He's doing some amazing things.
Strawny.
Strawny. Gotta love Strawny. And we'll have a great little tribute to Strawny. And I think it might be an alter ego for me. I'm not really too sure yet, but it's going to be classic. It involves me, a mullet, and a cowboy hat, and that's about as much detail as going to give you.
Talk about that. We need a name for the alter ego.
We do. That'll be next podcast. We'll plug that in somewhere. But yeah, he's going to be the next one on. So he's what you're looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to that dropping because
it's going to be cool.
We released the Dill podcast and had awesome feedback.
So good. So grateful for it.
From everything. Awesome. Yeah, the feedback, the reviews, the comments, the shares, the everything. So that was awesome because we kind of didn't know what was going to happen.
Really hope for the best there.
Yeah, so the fact that it came out and everyone really enjoyed it is awesome. So I'm hoping for more of the same. What about you?
I've got my parents coming in town next week. Friday.
Jeez.
Filthy Phil Cox.
Filthy Phil gets a big run. He's everywhere.
Mate, he is. If you ain't on Twitter, Phil Cox is 018, I think is his Twitter handle.
Yeah, he's big on Twitter.
Check it out. He is hilarious. He actually knows about more about Collingwood than I do, which is phenomenal.
He's a student of the
game. Mate, seriously, he should be on Channel 7. Stuff the Wayne Carey's and everything else. Phil Cox, commentate a game. I'm telling you.
Lingy.
That's where it's at. Lingy and Phil Cox will... Dude, Phil on the boundary would be absurd.
Yeah.
Would be the greatest
roaming
content
Phil
ever.
Instead of roaming Brian, it's roaming Phil, and he just gets around the rooms.
Man, that would be amazing.
Does he get starstruck? Has he met... Does he have favorite players and stuff?
Well, I assume I'm his favorite player, but if you probably ask him outside of me being in the room, then he's probably going to say someone like Brody Grundy or something. No, he loves it. He's all about it. He's on Twitter. He watches every single game. VFL, AFL, whatever it is, he watches every game Collingwood plays. It's wild. Like, even if I'm playing AFL, he'll watch the VFL game that week at like 2 a.m. in the morning. Yeah. He just loves it.
Because I've seen him comment on, like, this player played well, this player in the seconds, whatever, played well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's
get around him. He also loves chatting to other people online. Yeah, and God bless him, because I'm sure he's probably seen some flack that's been thrown at me over the years. Yeah. But
early days,
he loves it.
Like, they got some serious screen time. Like when you're playing your first game and stuff, they basically had a camera on him in the stands.
Mate, they were walking down. It was a grand final in 2018. They were telling me a story. They were walking down Swan Street before the game. People started chanting USA and following them to the MCG. Like, walked them all the way to the MCG, chanting like USA, like a march. Yes, and they were just like, it was just my mom and dad, my brothers. Like they were more popular than I was.
I'm surprised he goes back. I think he should just stick around.
Yeah, well, I think he wants to. My mother probably doesn't want him to, but if he could stay here, he probably would.
Fair enough.
All right, we'll get to the next one. Top news headlines. This is going to be a bit fun because there's a lot of things, like, I think of Australia and I think of the NT News. I think of the headlines and some of the ridiculous newspaper articles that the NT puts out there.
It's working. If they're like getting through to you.
Don't get me wrong, Herald Sun also does some pretty just terrible punny headlines, and like, credit to them, because it's like a dad joke essentially. Some of these things, but the NT News is, I think, the gold standard.
Yeah.
they are next level because some of the stuff that happens up there is just disbelief around the world.
I feel like they get to push the bar a bit more. Like they're a bit looser up there.
One of these we have is something that's happened recently where a protester, I think it was, came into was it the Louvre where the Mona Lisa is?
Yep.
Dressed up as a grandmother in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Rolled around and then smeared cake on the Mona Lisa.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Originally tried to break the bulletproof glass with just
definitely didn't do his research there. Definitely didn't do his research.
It's called bulletproof glass.
Yeah, the most famous painting in the world. Do you think he's just going to be able to punch it? Like, come on,
welcome
dude.
to the gun show. He's like, not these guns.
Nah, he was a skinny fella too.
But yeah, wiped cake all over the glass before being kind of dragged out of the Louvre.
This is interesting because this has happened a few times now. We've had the French Open, the woman, tying herself to the net, doing a bit of I forget what she was actually trying to promote, but there's another thing. I mean, the Brisbane Grand Final, we had people running out onto the field and kicking a ball. And like, I remember it actually landed in like our box and I grabbed the footy after they kicked it and it had like their handle and stuff and they got obviously thrown out and probably arrested. But
what do you think of that?
This is
for like clout chasing. It's different I feel like if it's, for a cause, I can kind of get around it depending on what the cause is, obviously. But just for like clout, it's like you're wasting everyone's time.
I'll say this. If a person goes out, and this is bar streaking, I don't think I'd do this, so for streaking, but if a person comes out and they're being an idiot running on the field, like, and they come near me, they're getting a shoulder to the chest. Like, they are going to get laid out by yours truly. There's no doubt. I will pin them to the ground, put their hands behind their back, and wait till the security gets there and make them look like an idiot.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
I think that's fair game. Like, I hope that as an entertainer, like, I would not get in trouble for literally just taking a guy's head off that's like running around the MCG.
Yeah, like at most you should get a talking to, but it's like if they're out there, they're putting themselves in harm's way. That's their fault.
I'd say you cross that line.
Yeah.
You're in our arena, bro. You're in our arena and anything goes. Well, somewhat.
To a degree.
High tackles and everything else, maybe not, but we'll ask. The other one is kind of crazy, man. Like, what was the headline? Hold on. The headline here we've got is U.S. tech company proposes taser-armed drones to stop school shootings. This is a bit of a change of just angle here because obviously there's a massive problem in the U.S. right now with school shootings and mass shootings in general. It is obnoxious, it's terrifying, it's dreadful, it's disgusting. And as an American, it's truly embarrassing the way it's gotten. How bad it's gotten is just crazy. To think it's, a safety reason of whether or not you're going to send your kids to school and be able to see them by the end of the day has gotten to the point where it's just, I think, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How are we here? I don't know. It's insane. Yeah. But I kind of look at this and I think of this and I want to have this say because obviously it's such a hot topic in the U.S. and everyone's talking about this and Australians don't understand because they're like, well, we don't have guns here, which you do have guns here for like some people, but they're highly regulated.
And you don't see them. Like no, they're not as visible. You just don't see them.
But in Texas, there's all kinds of stuff. And whenever I went to school in Oklahoma, I had 3 roommates, all of them had guns. Yeah. One of them had, I think, 4 shotguns. The other 2 had pistols in their nightstands, and I don't even know. I had a bat. I think it was on the other side of the house or something. I didn't have anything, but it was just normalized.
Yeah.
And it's like growing up, just guns around is somewhat normalized in the U.S. and not everywhere in the U.S., but specifically where I grew up in Texas, definitely. And that's where a lot of these shootings are actually happening.
Yeah.
But the fact that an 18-year-old can go to anywhere and buy a semi-automatic weapon.
2. He bought 2, this kid in particular.
Is absurd.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that at 18?
No.
You can't even drink in the U.S., but you're allowed to buy a semi-automatic gun and do whatever you please with it.
Well, yeah.
Without any restriction.
Just the ease that you can kind of get access to this stuff. I remember when we were in the States and it was just going into Walmart and you can buy a gun, you can
bullets,
buy ammo, you can buy all of that stuff. And I feel like every time there's one of these shootings, everyone gets caught up in the States side of things. Everyone gets caught up in the semantics of the whole thing. It's like, oh, should it be these types of bullets or this cartridge or this stock or whatever? And it from the outside looking in, the rest of the world is just saying it's pretty clear cut. There's clear examples of the change that's happened in other countries, whether it's, Canada, Australia, there's the UK, there's plenty of examples of gun bans coming in and it having a massive effect. But But, you know, the US kind of seems pretty insular. Like they kind of like look.
They don't care about people outside.
They look inwards, whether that's every system, like prison system, healthcare system, education system. But back to like the gun issue, surely a lot of it comes down to the culture of it and growing up with guns and, you know, even being over there, the way that like veterans are like not overly praised, but like it's a real front and center thing.
Patriotism is very much a thing.
You're the first on planes. Everyone's like congratulating you and stuff like that. Whereas here, everything's really understated. Even when it comes to like we'll have Anzac Day and stuff like that, but like really understated things. It just feels like the culture of it is really different, and I can't really imagine. Give us a bit of an insight on like the culture of it, specifically in Texas, as opposed to like everywhere.
Texas is a place that people don't like to be told what to do.
Yeah.
And that's the simple facts of it. I think Texas is a very kind of stubborn way of living. Like they're very caring towards each other, and there's somewhat of an Australian kind of like care factor towards each other in that sense. But if anyone tries to tell what Texas wants to, like what they should do, I mean, you look at the abortion laws, you look at everything going on, like Texas is always at the center of everything because they refuse to refuse to agree with everyone essentially. And that's kind of one of the issues, I think. And like the gun laws thing, like everyone goes, oh, why don't you just ban guns? I said, well, it's not as easy as that. Like you can't just, you look at what's happened in the last, I mean, you've had literally a riot at the Capitol of the United States, which is crazy, like insane. Yeah. I still am blown away that actually happened also. But you can't just go from one extreme to another. Like there has to be a subtle chipping away of the ability to buy guns and ammo and everything else to the point where you create these restrictions, smaller implications that eventually you get to the point where you need a massive amount of regulation to be able to get a gun.
Yeah.
And you'll get to that over a certain amount of years. But you can't just go from, okay, we're going to go people have guns to now people can't have guns. Because what's going to happen is people are going to lose their effing mind. They're going to go riot. Yeah. And that's just the cold hard facts. But I think the biggest thing that needs to happen now is we need to start implementing things where if you do want to get a gun, you have to be, assessed, or you have to have proper, safety protocol or whatever it is. You had to start implementing these things as a guarantee to be able to get a gun or be able to buy a gun. You have to start implementing these things slowly over the process over a certain amount of years. And then you can kind of get to a place where it's highly regulated, heavily restricted like it is here in Australia.
But is that, I guess a lot of gun owners and people that are right into it, they think it's like a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Well, like once you start that, the next thing is going to be banning all guns, whether it's like banning some guns, like if the hot topic is like banning the AR-15 or whatever, because it's, the go-to gun for these like mass shootings. Like, is there a step that can be even more watered down than that? Or is that, it kind of just has to happen? It's like really the only next step, because everything besides that is like, let's take away this specific stock and stuff that doesn't do anything. It doesn't accomplish anything.
I don't know, like I'm not going to sit here and say I've got the perfect formula for this thing, to be honest. I think the first thing is you have to ban semi-automatics. That's the easy thing. That's like the first stepping stone that I think a lot of people would agree with. Like there's going to be some people that are upset that, and I know people obviously that have served in the military and they have different types of guns from, AR-15s to AK-47s, whatever it is, and like pistols and everything else. And they are people that are highly trained in these things. Like they have that. But the fact that they have the same availability to get a gun as someone who's 18 with zero regulations, zero understanding of how a gun works is absurd. So I think the biggest step is first semi-automatics, and then being able to have everything registered. If you buy something, you are properly put into a system that shows, what you've bought recently, how much of it you've bought and everything else. And there's a limit to everything.
Yeah.
Like that needs to be the biggest thing. And then from there, you kind of start implementing these regulations slowly over the years to the point where you get to what, not necessarily you go to the extent of what Australia has, because I think that will probably scare a lot of Americans, but I think you need to slowly be able to restrict these things over a longer period of time to get to something that's at least agreeable to the point where I'm not having to read a damn headline every single week saying that there's been another shooting in America. It shits me. Like, and I don't like try to cuss on this thing, but it is frustrating as hell. It is. And it is part of the culture, and I'm not sitting here, I've met the president of the United States, but I'm not the president of the United States, and
not yet.
Oh, I don't think
CEO.
Australian citizenship, June 22nd, boys and girls. Listen in. It's going to be a great day. We'll jump off that, though. And that's a bit of a heavy topic. I know that. But it's something I think that's I get asked a lot about. I understand it's a hot topic in Australia. And there's plenty to cover there. I could talk on it for hours and hours. But that'll be the end of that. We'll jump into the next part. Let's flip it around. We're going to go to something extremely exciting. And this is why we have people tune into this. It's listeners' questions.
This is, listeners' questions. And we put it out there after the game. It was surprise. It was actually me who did the post.
Oh, who would have guessed? People were like, how's Mason tweeting during the game? I was like, or Instagramming during the game. I was
just like sprinted off and just quick. I got to knock out a post.
Just knock out a post.
We put a post out asking for listeners' questions and we got a ton.
Loved it.
We got so many.
Keep it up.
And they were really good. Like it wasn't... a lot of them were about the glasses when it started raining. But
answered that one. So we've knocked about half of them out.
Yes. So we'll jump into this. And apologies if I read your handle wrong because there's some tricky ones in there. But we got Marissa Samuelson. She writes in, what is your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure, to be honest, and I have this every single day. I know it's a sin living in Melbourne, but I'm not a coffee person. I'm actually a tea guy, and I'm a big fiend for T2, which is a company made in Melbourne. Like I'm supporting Aussie brands here. And the other day I went into a T2, and this is probably a shout. Maybe we need to get a sponsor of T2 on board.
I can't even believe it was a T2 store. Like you just go into a T2. Yeah, well, I don't know.
None of them, believe me, no one there had any idea who I was. I can guarantee you that.
Good. You just settle in.
And I spent $300 on tea.
What's the
oh man, there's accessories, there's tea, there's big tins, there's little tins, you can mix teas. It's a whole thing. It's a real gist.
Wait, so what's the most expensive thing that you bought out of like the things?
I bought like this big kind of tea jug that brews it, and it kind of does like a fruit tea. You can have in the afternoon, real nice. It's beautiful.
How many teas a day are you drinking?
Cups of tea, I'm probably going about 4.
I don't even know if that's good or bad. Do these things have caffeine in them?
They do have caffeine.
Oh, so that's all right. That's not too bad. It's not like you
I'll look at it as it's herbal. It's made from the earth. Yeah. Therefore, if we won't go down that road, that's gonna go.
I drink the long blacks because I figure if you can work all your way up to long black, you can't have a bad coffee. Like
True.
I can drink instant. I can drink from a servo. Anything.
Guilty pleasure?
Kinder Surprise chocolate, but the egg, which is like, then you got the toy and stuff.
Yeah.
I guess I'll play with it.
Mommy! Never living that down.
No, that's great. But yeah, just that chocolate. It has to be specifically that. We got the next one. We got, Christian Galea. How do you deal with criticism? You dickhead.
It was just how do you deal with criticism? That was not the end of it.
Yeah, I thought he said that.
Now, this is an interesting one. A lot of people ask me about this because for some reason, Australians are very polarizing with me. Yeah. They are very polarizing. And I think it's maybe, I don't know, they just want people to fit in the footy box. And I just am so different from probably what anyone's used to, being an American playing AFL and being the only one that does that. So, to be honest, a lot of people, they see it on social media, and this is the big thing, and I won't say who specialist was, but a comedian once said, Twitter's not a real place.
Yeah.
And this is what I think, is 99% of people that troll me on Twitter or troll me on whatever social media platform, which I don't even really see, to be honest, would not say that to my face. Oh. If they were standing in front of me and saw a guy who's 7 feet tall and they were to say, you're shit at footy, I think they would run the other way very quickly, Brayden.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's kind of the way I look at it. I look at it as probably every person that says something like that is probably bored out of their mind that they have so much free time to go literally find me on socials, write something crap about me, and then tag me in it as if it's going to hurt my feelings, is someone who's probably 40, 50 years old living in mom's basement in some rural town.
Yeah, 100%.
That's like, in all honesty, like if you have that much free time, I shouldn't be worried about your opinion.
The other thing that I find funny is like, you probably don't see most of this.
No.
So it's all these people just yelling into the void. Like they're just sitting at home, just super frustrated for whatever reason.
Many people tell me stuff all the time. They're like, did you hear something? I was like, I do not listen to media. Like a lot of media just kind of does not get into my head. Like I just don't even see it.
Yeah. So that's another interesting one. So Kai Parker, what made you want to start the podcast?
Well, I'll actually throw this to you because you you and I have had a relationship for a long time. Like you originally worked at Collingwood Football Club.
Yeah.
And we've been wanting to do this for like 3-4 years. Now, this, obviously, you can talk about how you created this amazing van that is a rolling podcast. Like it's literally a mobile podcast studio. Rolling studio. Check them out on socials. This is something that's been a passion project. You can talk. I'm not going to sit here and talk about it. You can talk about it.
I mean, it just makes so much sense, doesn't it? If you look at the personalities from across the league, not everyone can have a podcast. I'll just put that out there. But like your story in general is so unique. We also got along, so that kind of helps. But you also, like, you've gone outside of that bubble. I feel like you've broken outside of the AFL bubble, and you can talk to kind of anyone about anything from travel to, you know, cooking to grooming tips. I don't know. I'm just putting out other potential podcast angles that we can go for. But yeah, I just thought it made a hell of a lot of sense. And yeah, coming off Jock and Jono, talking with Pendles. Oh my God.
Be nice. Be nice, Brayden. He's a teammate of mine. He's my captain. Okay.
Yeah, is he still kicking around, is he?
Fine wine.
I've been pushing hard for this, but you're a busy man. You're a very busy man.
It is a bit of a chaos day, but we've got a few passion projects we're working on. Like we mentioned it earlier in the podcast, the AFL one, the international one. We're hustling.
We hustle.
And we're excited about this. We're trying to grow this as much as possible. You do a lot of work for this thing, and it's a credit to you. We're really thankful. We, as in literally me, because it's just us two, but like you doing the socials and everything else.
It's a big team. We got behind
awesome.
the scenes. I got to pay payroll and everything. I haven't paid myself.
Huge budget we need. But no, seriously, man, it's been awesome. Like these first few episodes have been so much fun. It's been a great time. I really wish we would have done this earlier, to be honest.
Well, I said we're friends, but the next one could really split us up. Something that Australia does way better than the US, and something that the US does way better than Australia.
All right, this one, I think you'll actually agree on this. I'll be honest with you, bro. I think you'll agree on this one. Now, something that Oz does better than the US, or Australia does better than the United States, is mental health advocacy.
Yeah.
I think here it is very much in front of you. It's very relevant to today, and I think there's a lot more attention to it here in Australia. Like in America, it's still pretty ruthless. Like you look at kind of sports and stuff, because there's so much money in it, people are just like, you're getting paid X amount. Shut up. We don't care what you think. Shut up and dribble. That whole kind of comment, Well, I think here with Are You OK Day and different like kind of, things along that line, there's a lot more attention towards mental health and more understanding towards it. Is there a long way to go? Yes, of course. But I think there's a lot better understanding of mental health here in Australia than America. But things that USA does better in Australia, and we'll stay along sports, entertainment aspects. I feel like you go to like a baseball game or a football game, there's like halftime or quarter time or like, there's so much stoppages in US sports, but there's always something going on. There's always something for the kids to be involved in. There's some kind of dot race, or there's some guy like who's the Flash running the outfield or whatever. There's always something entertainment. Or there's guys with trampolines at the basketball game doing like 6 flips, doing a dunk. Like there's always something to keep you in your seat. Where in Melbourne, it's like you get to quarter time, it's like halftime. You might go get a beer, and then you just kind of like sit around, talk to your mates, whatever. But there's nothing really, like you watch the kids watch Oz kick, and you pick out one kid, and you go, this guy's going to be a gun. You try to find your one team, like I don't know if you're like that, but you find the team in the little Oz kick game you look at, and you're highly invested in that. And that's the best entertainment outside of the actual game that you'll get on the day. I think that's probably the big thing that USA does a little bit better in Oz, and there's a lot of room for improvement.
Is that because your attention span is really short in the States?
Well, isn't everyone's? Isn't that how TikTok's popular now? Because everyone's on a 15-second attention span?
Very fair. That one was from Kim Hallam, 85. Thanks, Kim. Favorite Australian holiday, and why was it Tasmania? That's from Nashos.
Look, I actually big fan of Tassie. I think Tassie's underrated. I don't know. Have you been to Tassie?
Yeah, and it's great. If you want to, you snuggle up, you get a red wine, you go to a few art exhibitions, you
get a little flute here or something.
Play a little jazz.
Jazz flute, got it.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice.
I agree. I think Tasmania is a beautiful place.
It's cold
now,
as shit.
It is cold for like half the year. Last time I went to Tasmania, right? Like I think it was mid-season buy or something along those lines. Maybe it was preseason, but I was with my brother. And we looked up online. We'll go to Tassie for like 3-4 days. So what's on in Tasmania? And the first thing that comes up on what's on in Tasmania, Brayden, what is it? It's Evandale Penny Farthing Festival. Now, this is, if you don't know what a penny farthing is, it's essentially,
Well, you
it's
don't
got
have
the
to
big
preach to
wheel
me.
on the front and the little miniature wheel on the back, right?
Iconic.
They have a national festival for this thing in Evandale. And we went with very low hope as expectations, I'll be honest. But we met some of the most interesting people I will ever meet in Australia. Guaranteed, man. Like, we met.
So what do they do?
They literally race. There's like, it's a circle, and there's maybe, it's like a quarter of a mile or like a, half or whatever.
Well, like a velodrome.
Half K. No, it's like, it's in town. The town is literally just like a little circle because it's a very small town, and it's just a little circle, and it literally takes like a minute to do the full circle, and it's maybe like 2 or 3 laps, and then there's a winter crown at the end of it, and they have like different sections for old men. So you see the little old man with like the curled up mustaches riding these big old school like 1900s bicycles around, and they just love it, man. I'm telling you, there's a whole national championship, right? And I don't know if you know this.
So who's the GOAT?
The GOAT is a guy named James Fowler. Now this guy,
Jimmy,
30-time champion. I'm telling you, he is the GOAT of penny farthing.
He's won this thing 30 times.
30 times, and that's not even including second and third place when he was probably 5 years old. But this guy's an absolute goat. He's the nicest fella. Seriously, I met him and he was like, "Yeah, dude." Gave me so much time, some random ass dude off the street. Like, I had no idea what I was talking about or anything about penny farthing. But
you met the Michael Jordan of penny farthing.
Yeah, I would almost say the Michael Jordan crossed LeBron James.
Oh, the hybrid.
Penny farthing, the
hybrid.
The OG goat of penny farthing. And no, that was seriously, I would love to go back and do like a proper segment. And also, I think it'd be great content me getting on one of those, because that actually might be the first bicycle that ever fits me, Brayden.
Yeah, because I think you can just step up onto one of these
I think
things.
it's actually like a custom bike. It actually might fit me. But it reminds me of something else that's coming up. And this is another little random side thing. But the Cooper's Hill cheese rolling competition in England. Do you know about this?
I think I've seen clips. Is this when they roll the cheese wheel down the massive hill?
This is like a 90-degree hill. This is no chance of staying upright on this thing going down. And they're humming for this wheel of cheese. Wheel of cheese. I don't know why they got to that as the actual like thing they're chasing.
Yeah, if it was money or something. I guess it's cheddar.
Oh, there it is. The dad joke for the day. Love that. No, it is coming up, and I'm really excited. Do I know anything about it, Brayden? No. But I'm very excited for the winner. I don't know. I assume he just wins a wheel of cheese, which is probably the least exciting thing to risk your life for. But
surely it's notoriety. You walk through town as the guy that got the cheese, and
oh, dude, I'd make a trophy out of that.
Just the king.
Oh man, that'd be so good.
I am trying to see you with your long levers and
dude, I'd make it one step, and then it'd be an avalanche coming down. Like,
you'd blow out both knees and then snap forward, and you'd kind of just slide the rest of the way. It'd be great.
Oh, it would not be pretty.
I mean, either way,
maybe post-career. This is a post-career champion of the Cooper's Hill Cheese Rolling Championship, baby.
See, I'm pretty confident there wouldn't be someone that's done both.
No chance.
So you could be the first dual penny farthing cheese Cooper Hill grabbing Texan that ever lived.
Isn't that the dream? Isn't that the dream? Oh man! Then moving on to the next one, we've got the Shedstagram.
Yeah, the Shedstagram.
Yeah, the Shedstagram. Did you play when Marcus Smart pushed a fan? And what's your views on fan abuse?
All for it.
We're not for it.
You just spoke about the guys that jumped onto the field. You like kicked their ass.
Yeah, that's okay. Fan. That's a different kind of fan abuse that you're kind of throwing out there. I am okay. Yeah, I get where you're coming from here. But I did play whenever Marcus Smart pushed a fan. Now Marcus Smart is in the finals of the NBA right now. He's playing for the Celtics, and he's had a stellar career. He's one of the best defensive players. He's doing really. I think the last game he didn't do so well, but the game before he's really well. He's come back from injury and everything else. But it's kind of crazy to believe. But that whole scenario of Marcus Smart running into the like crowd and pushing a fan actually started my AFL career.
I don't see how.
Yeah, it's a very long story, Brayden. We'll keep it short, but that led to an opportunity for me to play basketball, which led to an opportunity, me playing the NCAA tournament, which is a basketball tournament, which then from there, the AFL saw me playing, picked me up, got me to a combine, then got me a contract. Now I'm signed. Now I'm 8 years into it. So if Marcus Smart didn't run into the stands like a chaotic human being that he was and push a guy for reasonings I understand, but I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but shoved a guy at Texas Tech, then I probably wouldn't be in the back of this van doing this podcast right now with you, Brayden. I would have never heard of Melbourne, what AFL is.
What a sliding door moment.
Very much. There's a lot of things that had to happen on the roller coaster of life to get me to where I'm at. But we'll go to the next one. Would you ever consider getting a mullet? By lily.com.au.
Just finish off the ensemble. People already look at you. You're 7 foot. I think if you added a mullet.
Real Draper mullet, you're going to go, I think I could.
Yeah.
I actually think there might be a little plug for the next podcast in this one. There might be. If you stay tuned for the next podcast, I can guarantee you will see me in a cowboy hat, mullet, and maybe a pair of sunnies.
That's a guarantee.
That's a real gift to our viewers out there.
All right, I like this one. This one's from Nathan Clark. Hey Mason, I'm a massive Saints fan, and I've followed your story ever since 2016. Then it takes a real right turn. Have you ever tried fairy bread?
Fairy bread.
Yeah, fairy bread.
I've heard of this. Now I've heard of this, Brayden. Fairy bread is one of the most obnoxious things I've ever heard in Australia.
It's iconic.
It is ridiculous. I don't know who came up with this and who had the idea.
It's Australian as the cork hat.
It is what is left in the fridge and what is left in the cupboard.
It's for those who don't know, who you've been living under a rock for our US followers. It's essentially a plain white square of bread, like the cheapest, like cardboard-esque bread you can get, and then you lather it up with butter, like an inch. Like it's almost thicker than the bread, and then you just like layer that with hundreds and thousands, which is like
sprinkles essentially.
What else would you call it? Hundreds and thousands, which is basically just balls of colored sugar. So it's really nutritional. It gives you that kick that you don't get because you're on your tea or whatever.
Yeah.
So we've actually got some here that we want you to try. So you've never had.
This is a huge moment in my life.
So you've never had fairy bread.
First experience of fairy bread on the Mason Cox show.
That's.
I must say this because we created this earlier, and the one thing that blew me away more than anything was
can't see the amount of butter.
The amount of butter. This thing is like thick.
I was saying
this is Medea thick.
Two C's.
There's more butter than bread. I think.
If you don't get to play the next game from like diabetes or skin folds,
it's pretty on brand with America. So, here it is. Here is my first ever bite of fairy bread.
Can't wait for your review. He's gone deep on it.
Yeah, we got full into it.
It's crunchy. That's what you want from a bread product. A little bit of butter in there? I don't know if you can taste the butter.
All butter, bro.
Oh, yum.
I will say this. I've had worse things in my life.
Oh, see? That's a positive.
But if I needed to increase my butter intake per day, this would be a great way.
That's good for your bones.
It's actually somewhat pleasant, which actually disturbs me at the same time.
Yes.
I'm not sold on having this every day, but if someone were to offer it me and I was 10 years old, I'd actually take it. I might even take a second bite.
See, that's it.
Take a second bite.
So if you had one of them before every game, it'll just juice you right up.
Can you imagine that?
You'll run out the game. You got the energy to take you through. See, you give that to like a 6-year-old at a birthday party and they're just bouncing off the walls. It's great. Get the energy up.
I think we went too hard on the butter. Straight butter, bro.
If you watch the video where we made it, it's there's a little bit of butter on there. I'm actually surprised like how much butter.
There's a kilo of butter on that. Okay, that's enough. I feel sick now.
So that's the end of episode 1 of Coxie's Catch Up.
Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. It's been great. Hopefully you've learned something along the line for the last however long we've been on here. But we're gonna do this every other week. We're gonna have interviews in between. And like I said before, we want to get some of your feedback on some of these things because we want to be as engaging as possible with this and make this more of a fans kind of podcast, a fans podcast where we can hit all the topics you want to hear about, give you a bit of a laugh along the way, and have a good time. And I'm a bit nervous, to be honest, what else is going to be thrown at me as far as being able to get assimilated into this Australian culture. Hopefully it's better than fairy bread. That's all I can say.
You said you hadn't had Vegemite on toast. That's a guarantee. That's a lock for next week.
Really not looking forward to that. Anyway, but thank you guys for coming on. Obviously, follow us on socials. You got YouTube, we've got Twitter, we've got Instagram, we've got TikTok, and we've got
LinkedIn.
And there's another one we have.
Stay off.
Facebook's the other one. So
Stay off LinkedIn.
check us out, comment and everything else. Try to get engaged with us. We're trying to build this as much as possible. So engage with the community, and we're going to do some amazing things. But Brayden, first one's in the books. Thanks for coming on. So good to actually see your face. He is the man that does everything behind the podcast, and the person that really makes this thing tick and run. So we all appreciate that.
Shoulders are sore from carrying the pod.
Yeah, no, seriously, it should be. Yeah, so you do carry the pod, I'm not going to lie, but just talking to a mic. But thanks for tuning in, everyone. Have a great day, and we're excited to have Peter Hellier on as the next guest, so tune in for that. See ya.
You.